Enchanted Narnia. I thought perhaps we could have a bit of a chat about if you're a writer and you're trying to navigate the publishing industry. I'm not massively experienced, I'm new, but it's always good when you can pass on what you do have. So essentially, to start from the beginning, what I do to find places to send short stories or novellas or something like that is just literally Google what you're after. The Horror Tree is a good website to find calls for horror, science fiction, bizarro, weird fiction. Because I write bizarro / weird fiction, mostly. I don't just do that, but because I mostly do that, I tend to look at the bizarro publishing websites and see when their submissions period is. And it's really important that you actually look through the websites before asking any questions and so on, because it's really appreciated to know that you have done some of your own homework. And there's trope, which I think you might have to pay a subscription for, but a lot of people say it's worth it. People always used to say, oh, you must have a thick skin, you've got to have a thick skin. I don't think people do that so much anymore. And I'm here to attest to the fact that I am like a hermit crab searching for a shell. I am the least tough-skinned person out there. Like, recently I had a novella rejected from somewhere that I really probably got quite cocky, I think, really thought it was going to get in, and then it didn't, and I cried for days. But I think it's more about how you handle it. It's very unpredictable and also very slow, so you've got to be extremely patient, and I mean really patient. Sometimes it can get a bit frustrating, but don't lose your temper. You have to really kind of remove your ego from these things. You have to really kind of see what you're doing as a business and see the people that you're working with as business associates. I know that you do make friends and things, can move from business to friendship, and that's fine. But just be aware that if you're rejected or if a mistake happens or something like that, you can't just go off on people. That's a really quick way of never working in this town again. You've got to be honest with yourself. Look at your work and think about it. Does this really need a lot more work? And the answer is probably yes. I think I'm quite a polite person to work with, and I think that's very important. I think people remember that sort of thing and people appreciate it. But on the other side of things, I do know that I have been treated quite badly by certain, publishers, not very often, but it has happened. And I just kind of go, okay, because I am not someone who's very good at standing up for themselves. So it's such a fine balance, and it's all a balancing act between standing up for yourself and not going off on one and becoming a joke. There's things that DMs that people pass around saying, look at what this person said to me, and look at, don't be one of those, just don't. But at the same time, I do know that there are situations in which I knew that I was just kind of taking things lying down, so it's really tough. But I think all in all, the more that you do this kind of thing, any kind of creative, well, anything really, the more you kind of work out how you should navigate yourself and navigate the people around you. I essentially try and maintain something of a distance. Be friends by all means. I'm not suggesting remotely that you should live a lonely life. I'm consider myself pretty close to quite a few people, and I do think it is good to kind of form relationships with people, but also be aware that you are not each other's best friends. Most people are just trying to do their best, and they're trying to get things going and chugging along, and everyone's kind of in this together and got to work together and live with each other. There's obviously bad actors, there are always going to be bad actors, so just try and bear in mind, I guess, don't go saying really bad things about people, or don't just don't treat people badly. There's also a lot of talk about you need to get an editor and you need to get a cover designer. You need to, it can, I'm sure, be really overwhelming, if especially if you're an indie author. You don't go with a publisher at all. Because there are some people who are saying, no, don't worry about it. And some people who are saying, if you don't do it, you may as well just give up. But you know in your gut what's best. If you know a good cover designer and you know a good editor and hopefully get it on the cheap, I would highly suggest it. And if the noise online about what you should do and shouldn't do and how you should be and so on gets too much, remove the app for a day or two. It really does do wonders. I do it every now and then and it is most needed. I'm ambitious. I'm hoping to, at some point, get an agent. I do want that. I don't think it will be this year, but hopefully it will be soon. But at the moment, I think the most important thing for me is that I'm happy how things are right now. If I don't get an agent and if I don't get a really big publisher, then I'm kind of just happy as I am. And I think that that's a thing that some people can lose focus of. Ambition's great. I am very ambitious. But for that to be all consuming and for people to not see what's around them and be content with where they are, I think is where some people run into issues. So, when good things happen for other people, be happy for them. Obviously, use it to spur you on. I know that's so overused, but seriously, it's so much healthier than being really bitter and angry about things. Just think, that's great. I want to try and do that too. People want to see a person on Twitter. People don't just want to see retweets and adverts for your book. So yeah, I think that's roughly all I have for the moment. Thanks very much. I'm going to drink the rest of my tea and I'll see you soon.